Hey friends, welcome back. Today I'm going to be doing a wrap-up for all the books that I read in the last month, which is May. I only read 3 books that month, which is not a great reading month for me. Like, normally, I say that, but like, for the past few months I've read like 0 books, so reading 3 is pretty good. And I think I'm finally breaking out of my slump, which is great. So as I said, I got some like stats, because I keep track of my reading, because I'm a huge nerd like that. So I read 3 books, and I'm currently reading 3 other ones. So over the course of May, I read 1,138 pages over 31 days, which is 37 pages a day, roughly. And so how I'm going to do this wrap-up is I'm going to talk about the book that I enjoyed the least, and then I'm going to then I'm going to continue on and end off with the book that I enjoyed the most. And the book that I enjoyed the least this month was The Fold by Peter Clines. This book takes place in, it's a sci-fi book that takes place on Earth. It's soft science fiction. I don't know where I'm going with this sentence. I'm going to just derail this whole thing. But it follows a man who has eidetic memory, and he is hired by his buddy to go help these scientists who have created like a teleport thing. It's not really teleportation. They fold dimensions so that you can move from one place to another like immediately without having to like break down cells and all this other stuff. You just go. And obviously things don't go right because you don't mess with stuff like that. And this book, the premise of it, I thought was going to be like real cool and all this stuff, and then no, it wasn't that great. It fell flat. I hated the way the main character like described memories and stuff. He always describes his thoughts and things like ants crawling through his head, and I hated reading it. Also, there's some like real problems with like identity and what makes a person that this book just does, and I just don't agree with. So I just didn't enjoy it that much, and then I'm giving it 2 out of 5 stars. So another book that I read that I enjoyed a little bit more was Hounded by Kevin Hearne. Yes, Hounded by Kevin Hearne. I picked up the sequel to this book in the library book haul. Well, I also picked up the Fold in that library book haul. But I picked up the sequel to this one without realizing that I had the first one on my shelf, because that's just kind of a lucky break. So I did get to read the first one before I read the second one. I thought I was going to hate this series, but I really enjoyed this book, actually. It follows a druid who has lived for thousands of years and now currently lives in present-day Arizona, although like it takes place like 20 years ago, because this book is old. But like it takes place in like present-day Arizona, where he's trying to hide the fact that he's a druid, but still deal with like some supernatural elements. And this book's got like, it's got your standard werewolves and your vampires, but they're not all like broody and romantic. They're, kind of cool in this one. He's got a dog that he can read the thoughts of, so like the dog is like a main character in the book, and I love the dog. There's also a whole pantheon of different gods and stuff from like different religions and different things. So like this was a really cool book, and it scratched like an urban fantasy itch that I didn't even know that I had. So now I'm actually really excited that I got book 2, because that means I can go back or go and read it. And now there's like, I think there's 9 books in this series, so like I got a lot of reading to do. I give this one 4 out of 5 stars. And last but not least was Autumn by David Moody. This book is a zombie apocalypse style book, but it takes place, the zombies kind of work a little differently in this one. Like, first everyone starts to die, and then they just sort of like stay dead for a little while, and then there's just like this group of survivors that sort of come together to deal with like the fact that they're the only people left alive, and then like slowly over the course of like a few days, like some of the dead start to like get back up, and then they start to get a little bit more like aggressive, and they get to have like thoughts and stuff like that. So like it's a slow burn zombie where like they're not really that threatening in the beginning, but like you as the reader know they're going to get more threatening, so like it builds this sort of tension. The characters I felt like were pretty weak in this story. They were great while I was reading them because they felt like, characters that should be in a zombie apocalypse, but after I finished this book, I honestly can't name a single one of the characters in this book. Not a single one. I know their character archetypes, but like I can't really remember them all that clearly and distinctually. But this is like part of a series that I'm looking forward to getting a couple more books from. I'm not going to pick them up really fast because like it was a good book and it was like the best thing that I've read this month, but I'm not like super invested into getting the next one in the series yet. I got other stuff I got to get to. And yeah, I gave this one 4 to 5 stars as well. So I'm actually going to talk about the books that I'm reading this month because this is a short video if I don't, so I might as well just like fluff it out a little bit. One of the things that I'm reading currently is The Cruel Prince by Holly Black. This I got in a Loot Crate, no, not a Loot Crate, an Owl Crate box a few months ago. This one's about a girl whose parents are killed by the Fae, and then like the Fae kind of adopt her and her sisters, and she goes to go live with them, and she just sort of like deals with Fae things. I'm like halfway through it, and I'm not particularly enjoying it. Like, it's not an awful book, it's just, I feel like I've read this a million times before, and there's nothing that really sticks out about it, but it's not a boring read so far. It's just kind of like really middle of the road, so I'm hoping to kind of like finish it soon, just to like finish it, you know? Another thing that I'm reading is Red Rising by Pierce Brown. I picked this book up in 2016 sometime. I can't remember exactly when, because it was supposed to be, my friend Steph and I were supposed to be doing a buddy read of this together, and then she ended up finishing the book, and I still haven't. I'm like a quarter of the way through, and so you can see how well that buddy read went. This one takes place on Mars in the future, where humans have sort of colonized the planets. I'm just sort of piecing things together. It looks like there's some sort of weird class war that's happening between them, where like the miners are being mistreated by the people who run the thing, and like I kind of went into this blind because I just heard it was a really good book, but I went into it blind, so I'm not entirely sure where the story is going to go. But I read a really gross chapter that had to do a lot with surgery, and that really grossed me out. But the book itself has been good. The way the author writes with like really halting sentences is kind of hard for me to get into, but like I'm enjoying the story. It's just the writing itself is getting like, it's tough to get immersed into the book with the way that it's written, but I really enjoy the story. Yeah, and I'm looking forward to finishing it. And the third book that I'm reading is there's nothing on this one, Into the Drowning Deep by Mira Grant. I read the Feed trilogy, which is on my shelf. I don't know where it is. It's over there. I read the Feed trilogy, which is like a zombie survival horror thing, which was great. This one is a horror that's around mermaids. Mermaids that kill people and kill a lot of things, like a lot of stuff. I bought this book, like, basically I pre-ordered it, so I got it right when it came out, and then I just never picked it up, because that's just what I do. And I don't know why, because this book is really good, and I really like the way Mira Grant writes. Mira Grant's actually a pseudonym. I think her real name is Shannon McGuire. It's the same author who wrote the Every Heart a Doorway, I think, is the book. I haven't read that one. I haven't read anything by Shannon McGuire, but if Shannon McGuire writes the same way that Mira Grant does, which makes... That's sort of backwards, since Shannon McGuire is like the real person, Mira Grant's a pseudonym. But you know what I mean? If the two writing styles are the same, I'm sure I would love Shannon McGuire books. And people talk about that Every Heart a Doorway, and they seem to really love it. So I might give it a try. Also, you may have noticed that none of my hardcovers have dust jackets because I can't stand reading hardcover books with dust jackets. Like, it just makes me so mad. They just slide around. It's so uncomfortable. So yeah, this is what I have read / am currently reading from the end of May and into June. And considering that I read 0 books last month, and I've already finished 3 of these, and I'm working on 3 more, I think I'm out of my reading slump finally, and that feels real good. So hopefully next month I can read, well, I'm hoping to have like the 3 books that I'm currently reading finished, and then I'm hoping to read like maybe 3 more? I'm setting a goal for 6 books. I want to double what I read this month, which might be a little bit extreme, but I think I can do it. And yeah, if you enjoyed this video, give it a like. If you want to see more of it, you can subscribe, and I got links to social media down below, and yeah, that's it. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!